Now, I've never liked this plant. I've always walked past it with disgust almost, but I bought one. Hi. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of garden renovation behind me. It's kind of like a dryish, Mediterranean-y herbaceous border. Now look, I don't garden full time. I wish I did. So sometimes in the garden you turn your back for what feels like 2 minutes when actually, well, might have been 3 weeks. And things kind of aren't going to plan, or there's weeds popping up. Don't be worried. Don't be anxious. Don't stress yourself out. Don't beat yourself up. Because on days like today, when the sun is kind of breaking through, is the best we've had so far this summer. But it gives you the opportunity to come out and do them and enjoy the day and be outside, listen to the birds. So I'm going to walk you through this. You can see what we're working with. So when I started trying to redo this garden, this was kind of like this. I haven't changed much. You can see 2 very large fuchsias back there, and they were underplanted with this crocosmia, which I think is Carmine Brilliant. You'll see quite a bit of this toadflax or speedwell. I've just let it self-seed. Some people will treat this as a weed, but I like it. Bees love it. You can also see, you'll have to pardon the neighbours. I mean, you know, if the weather's even a little bit like this, people are still going to go outside. You can see the lavender about to kind of burst open. Just there. I mean, whoa, there's a bee on this one. That's the French lavender there. France versus England all over again. Purple sage has taken really well. I think this is in its 2nd year. A little bit of oregano down there with the toadflax taking over. This rosemary has stopped cutting and it's starting to come back, and the sage is getting massive. So it's a kind of little potted up herb garden. You'll see all these rocks. I mean, it's heavy clay, heavy clay, with all these rocks. So this idea was kind of continuing from what was already there, and we wanted to make it Mediterranean. However, half of it is in shade. You'll see where the Mahonia is there. Back to, if you can see the buddleia right in the back. How can I point to the buddleia? Buddleia. Now we might change that buddleia over to something like a hydrangea, which I think would probably do a little bit better there. And again, knowing your site, I made a mistake, and we all make mistakes. I make lots of mistakes, but I thought it would be sunnier there, and that the buddleia might be doing better. But a buddleia that's been in there for 4 years should be denser, bigger, fuller. So it's not at its best, but that won't be in this video, that might be in the future. The Brachyglottis has absolutely taken over. It's probably doubled its size in the last few months. I don't know what's happened. I do love it and absolutely adore it. I adore it at this stage where you can see those flowers about to open. They go like little drops of snow. They're so white, almost powdery, and you can see the first one opening just there, making this beautiful daisy-like flower. A beautiful cheery yellow, really rich. Echinops just there. There's a potted up geranium, Armenian cranespill, that is Solistemon. Festuca, Stachys, which is doing really well. You can see some of these purple sedums behind it. I forgot which one that is. Anytime you see this Centaurea, this blue coneflower here, I've not planted it. That is just self-seeding itself wherever it wants. Same with the St. John's wort behind it. I've not planted a single one of those, and you know, I used to weed that out. I used to weed these out. I don't anymore. You know, my philosophical approach, I think, has changed, especially being in this garden. We'll address that in another video. The stachys is just starting to go there. You can see the flowers. Bees love those. So again, we're trying to be pollinator friendly. Calamagrostis again, one of my favorite grasses. There's some Dropterus ferns back there, making this kind of gully. Geranium Bevan's Beauty just there. Red Hot Poker, it's made a little replicant of itself, a little baby. So this should be a nice clump next year. It's already done its thing. And then this is probably one of my favorite grasses, Anemalanthe. I love this. What is it? Pheasant grass or something like that. And it goes this red in autumn. It is brilliant. And you can see it kind of continues on. Geranium Brookside there, just planted that earlier this spring. That's in the ground, but the Armenian cranesbill behind it, I got that as a little baby. That is in a pot. So you can kind of see that the idea was to take the heavy rocks that were there and drift it through and kind of fade it out. Is as the sedums grow and fill those spaces, in between were salvias giving us the pink spires, and they're no longer with us. But what we do have is an opportunity to try something new and something different, and that is where the dianthus, those pink lovely double dianthus, are going to make a comeback. We are going to, you can see I've put a plant support here. We're going to put another one there. We're going to plant support the geranium. As you see, it's a bit floppy. We're going to clean up the bird bath so that birds, especially the small ones, because I've got a little pot in a pond, which I'll show you in a future video. But that's really kind of commandeered by the bigger birds, wood pigeons, and we get jackdaws here. So the little birds quite like this one as it's kind of hidden. So we're going to clean that out and actually put water in it, so they can have little drinks and little baths. And then we'll do some renovating. Oh, and I forgot to say, but you're coming into the border with me. Now, this is a mistake we all make, and I'm trying not to make it, but I will probably continue making it. As I said, the Brachyglottis went superhuman. It's just absolutely gone mental. So it was never the idea that it would kind of grow through this grass, but it is, and I kind of like it. But what I don't like is that I put a Formium here, and you would never know. This is Formium Platts Black, and of course it's not doing great there. You know, I kind of thought the idea of this growing through it and giving us those yellow cherry flowers through that foliage would be great, but it's completely shadowed out. So we're actually going to move that first, and I think place it there, so the strappy leaves can kind of go through that stachys, and give us a lovely effect of the silver and that kind of smoky foliage. So those are the first things we're going to do. Then I'll actually show you kind of the palette that we're working with, some of the plants that we may or may not put in here, and then we'll go from there. and you can kind of see the geranium there. Now it's not going to look great because obviously the plant has been angling towards the sun, so you're going to get this kind of upturned effect like that. Okay, now look, don't worry. Ideally, again, if I was out here every day or stayed on top of my jobs, I would have put those plant supports up weeks ago, and we wouldn't get into this mess. Obviously the plant would grow up through and wouldn't have flopped, therefore never giving this effect. But it will only last a couple of days. It just, you know, doesn't look its best when you do it, but that's fine. Sometimes a haircut doesn't. You got to give it a few days, or a week, or a month, depending on your barber. And you can see that the bird bath is now clean. I'll put a little bit more water in there. I've noticed a few brambles coming up, and I might take out some of that bluebell foliage as well. Whether we do that in this video, if you want that type of thing, if you want literally every single thing, let me know. If you just want the fun bits, let me know. I don't mind either way. I'm just trying to give the audience what they want, though long gardening videos with me talking might not be what you want either. In which case this will become, I don't know what this will become. I can talk about what's happening on TikTok or something. I don't know. God, I'm rambling. Right, let's get to the plants. So this is what we have to work with for the gaps in there. Now we're going to take the formium out. We're going to put the formium slap bang in between those two sedums, so that foliage kind of cascades through the stachys at the front, or the lamb's tongue, lamb's ear, some part of a lamb is the common name there, and we'll have the sedums coming through it as well. So that's going to be nice, I think. Should we do that and then talk about these? Maybe we should. Right. Let's start there. So we're going to have to dig the formium out. We're going to have to move the gravel, otherwise we'll lose it if we're to dig a hole there first with the gravel there. We'll dig a hole, we'll get some compost, and then we'll see how it looks. Look at my hair, it's crazy. Also tell me if you like the way I've clipped that Eleagnus. I used to have like a floating ball, but then it was kind of getting too close to the path, and we used that path quite a lot to take the debris out, lawn clippings, things like that, like a service path, and it was kind of encroaching a bit too much. I couldn't find a way to tighten that ball without doing some damage. So we've ended up with, you may have noticed it, let me flip this around, we've ended up with this. Now it needs to be clipped again, and obviously it needs to fill some spots, but this was a challenge. But I kind of like the zigzaggy trunks there, kind of gives this almost statuesque type quality, and I want that geranium to kind of start to grow through it, have that be the plant support. But as well, what I'm thinking is around here, stick a clematis in it. Future video. I just love grasses blowing in the breeze, don't you? I mean, that's why you have grasses, as well as seed heads, as well as they look awesome in autumn and winter. It's for movement, it's for the sound. There's that nostalgic feeling of birds chirping and wind rustling these lovely tall grasses and seeing the seed heads just either float or thrust into the wind. I think it's glorious. Time for a little break. Whenever you're dealing with clay, heavy clay, although you can kind of see now, I mean, this is becoming a lot looser. In the years, well, when I first came here and started working on the site in this garden, soil wasn't like this at all. It was a lot thicker, a lot heavier, but still, what you have is what you have. And if you got clay, you can put all the conditioner in it that you want. If you've got clay, always dig a hole bigger than what you need, okay? Put compost in it. That's, you know, there's some great things about having clay, some absolutely wonderful things, you know. Moisture retention. If you love, you know, bog gardens, you've got a great kind of start point. If you love water gardens, you've got a great start point, as well as being nutrient rich, or typically nutrient richer. You know, if you can improve clay, it'll do you. It's not a burden. You can work with it very easily. We're going to see how big the formium is, how big the root system is. So yeah, that's next. What I'm thinking though, I probably should have taken all the gravel off, dug all the ground, but you know what, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it my way, little by little. It also kind of gives us the opportunity to really take our time with it, see how things really look, and as well not create too much muck. Got the wheelbarrow now, and we've got the shovel, and we've got time. Got that lovely colour of the stachys, those little flowers, almost, you know, well, I guess it is part of the same family, those salvia-esque flowers. And you can see that leaf coming through. Look at that. So, probably a little bit further back than what you'd think, but again, all plants will grow and angle themselves towards the sun. Now you might be thinking, we need to do something here in terms of contrast with those sedums and the formium. Maybe it's a bit too blocky, even though they are tonally a bit different. So let's see what else we've got to work with. And remember, we also need to water that in. So I'll do that. But in the meantime, so this is where I'm thinking the dianthus in front. Now this is Geranium pratense purple ghost. Should get to about 50 centimeters high by 50 centimeters wide, and we can kind of see the flower. It's almost lilac-y in a way. Whitish though, with that kind of lilac vein running through. So again, you can kind of see we've got a lot of silver in there. We've got a lot of silver. We want some purple. And I'm going with geraniums. I'm planting more and more geraniums because, well, guess why? Slugs don't eat them. Yep. Our number one enemy doesn't like geraniums. And I've not seen it eat a single geranium. I've not seen a single slug on a single geranium in this garden, so it's holding true so far. And trust me, I've seen slugs eating catmint, if you can believe it. They're getting hungrier and more savage. We have the convolvulus there. Now, I've never liked this plant. It's never caught my eye before at a garden centre. I've always walked past it with disgust almost. But I bought one. You know, I'm just looking at the foliage. I'm looking at this tricky space right there next to that purple sage. And I'm thinking, you know what? This there might be good. And I might keep it in a pot. We've got geranium Roseanne. We've got geranium Bevan's Beauty, or macrorrhizum Bevan's Beauty there. Now, Roseanne is probably one of the most known flowers in the British garden. RHS award winner and all that. Little saucer disc in there. Tough, hardy, reliable, but importantly another geranium. We've got this, which is Potentilla fruticosa. I don't remember the rest of it. Something like Sunset something. It's not doing too well, and I don't think it's had enough sun this year. No, not that anything's had much sun this year. There is Centranthus. So this is, wait, am I saying the right thing? Yes, Centranthus ruba alba. So white valerian there, tough, hardy, likes dry. So it should cope. This is quite dry over there. We've got, if you can remember, it's just been crushed now, but we've got Gora. So whirling butterflies. I'll try and get a picture of what that should look like on the screen. And we've got another Centranthus. This I got as a little 9cm kind of plug. Repotted it. Now look at it go. Right, so this is our palette. I'm going to kind of just play around. Oh, and that I took as a cutting because this happened earlier in the year. And I thought, oh no, what a shame. So this is a result of this, and now I've got this again, so we're going to make another cutting. But yeah, you'll notice the two of these from, you'll notice two of these from the front, and when you look through there you kind of get the effect, this kind of, you know, pink, silvery, purpley effect. All these things will deal with dryness. The geranium will probably be put in, well, the geranium pratense there, the purpley one, he'll be put in a semi-shaded position that stays a little bit more moist. And Roseanne, I don't know. Look, I've got an idea where the dianthus are going to go, but I don't have an idea where anything else is going to go. You know how I said the other video where I put things in, I walk away and I leave it for a bit? Sometimes I do that in my imagination. You know, what you haven't seen is that some of these pots have stayed in that area for probably 6 weeks now. Of course the dianthus are new, the purple geraniums are new, the convolvulus is new. But even then I had a kind of idea of what I want. There's another thing I do want, and that is a Perovsky, a big Russian sage for kind of late summer, autumn colour in that area. But we're going to work with what we have. I'm going to kind of dot them around and I'll give you a look. And we'll see what comes of it, what we're thinking. Okay? So I'm a little stuck. I mean, we've got the convolvulus there. I'm thinking geranium there. You can see behind it the Centranthus. So the Echinops there is a blue thistle flower. that purple geranium will be coming through the centranthus, and I think that purple with that shade of leaf right there would be good. And you expect it to fill out the space here. Sedums, geranium in the middle, geranium roseanne in the middle, dianthus through there. You see what I mean? I think that's perfect. The dianthus and this stachys, and then the other geranium there. But you know what? I'm gonna have a coffee. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna see if I still like it. Right, I've got a can of drink and I'm just standing here. Oh yeah, I avoided the coffee. But I've got my drink here, and I'm just looking at it. And I try and be mindful. Like when I walked and my head turned and I looked, my eye was drawn straight to the dianthus. And that kind of is telling me that they're in the right spot. And then it's about kind of being mindful of how your eye moves through the border, I think. Which is why people talk about repetition in planting. You know, you take the plant and you kind of dot it, you thread it through. You know, if you've got, let's say, a long straight border, thread it through in this kind of, not pointedly zigzag, but a soft almost zigzag. Because very rarely in nature do you find, you know, perfect straight lines all the time, especially with planting. You know, really kind of look at landscapes next time that you're out and try and appropriate that landscape into this kind of thing that we call gardening. Kind of in the vein of a Chinese garden, where, you know, you might have those rocks resemble mountains. You know, you might have small plants resemble pines on a distant kind of cliff. And when I'm looking at this, there's something that aesthetically you kind of want to do. And I'll flip the camera around. So, I don't know how, because I'm looking at a tiny screen, but instantly I'm drawn to those dianthus through the stachys. Just there. I think that's really nice. You see what I mean about the wind? Look, it's like those little stachys are dancing. And looking through, it's quite nice actually. I mean, that geranium has seen better days. It wants to get out of its pot and into the ground. But that thing that you want to do is you almost want to consider, and I'll get front on to explain this. You almost want to consider that brachioglottis pushing through that big thing there as this kind of mountain. And you've got this foreground here. But then in the middle, it sometimes doesn't make sense to put another mountain. You know, you're creating this, well, not in this aspect, I think, because you're creating this big block line. And you're kind of splitting this. You're splitting that movement. You know, I think it's restful. That's why I do a lot of grasses. That's why I do textures. You know, I love looking at just masses of flowers when a border is just full of flowers. But if you want full masses of flowers, then what you've got is a border for 1 month. Glorious for a month. But if you want to be outside all year round, you want stuff to look at January all the way through to December. So I like those little things. I like that. The grasses almost give your eyes a chance to rest before looking at the next kind of big colour, the flower. But the reason why I don't know about this geranium being in that spot is because you're almost creating a mountain range. And what you really want is a kind of valley, I think. When you have such a big thing there, you want almost this V. And that kind of frames the big thing behind. When you put something there like that, it doesn't give you that feeling. It blocks that feeling. But what we gain is that lovely daisy yellow flower next to the blue of the geranium Roseanne. And that I like. And you can see that a bee likes it too. I think that geranium is in the right spot. I think this dianthus is in the right spot. I don't expect the dianthus to overwinter, so it is kind of fine if we're cramming them in there. And here is where I'm struggling. So I thought the convolvulus would be here-ish. But I've put the potentilla here. I don't want to go too much in that spot because you can see this. This is a little centaurea. Basically that blue flower over there. And I want to give him a little space. You know, I'd like to have a little mound of it there because of course it's symmetrical. And I do like symmetry. So maybe it's potentilla here with the lavender behind. The purple sage there. Convolvulus there, I don't know. There's some chamomile as well, I forgot to mention. There's big massive chamomile EC Buxton here, and it was glorious for 3 years. But it is a short-lived thing, and it is at the end of its cycle here on this ground. So I'm going to take it out. The other thing I'm not sure about is that grass there. Now, it's a miscanthus. Of some sort, but I forget which one. That tends to happen sometimes. It's okay there. It's not doing great. So the centranthus might go there, with the geranium's purple flowers kind of coming through it. And once that goes, you know, towards kind of end of summer, like autumn, hopefully that sedum will slowly take over this spot. That sedum's only in its second year. Convolvulus here, the other geranium there, so we've got that kind of symmetry. There's a little steeper coming through there. Or we could split this around actually. What if we move this there? What if we had this here? I just fear that might be too hot. We could do something like that. Let's go back a little bit. Not bad. Although then you've got white flower next to white flower. But then we ask the question, do we get another plant and whack it in between those two? Does that geranium in fact go there? You know what? I think there's too many questions. There is too many questions, I think, to dig this, put these in, and realize tomorrow that you've not given it enough thought. I think we sit on this. Yeah. This is going to be, I do apologize, and I'll put something in the title to reflect that, I don't know, that's not getting done today. There's going to be a part 2 because we're going to sit on this, right? So I'll come back to this, we'll make a video, we'll talk a little bit more about aesthetic, and then we'll actually do the planting of these. I might do a little bit of research and see what else I can put in here. I've always thought Phlomis I've got two lovely flomes out the front and I do love it. Do I need a little bit more blue? What do I need? Or is there just another way to organize this that I haven't thought about? So I don't know if anyone will see this. I don't know if this video will be out. So if someone leaves a comment saying plant this there and change this and that and get this or that, don't know if I'll see it. But thank you, internet, for giving me this outlet, and see you soon.